Welcome back everyone. Today I'm super excited to open this package. So this contains 4 of the same figure, but I'm still excited because it is a brand new figure. I'm just going to get right to it, and I'll leave links and stuff to how I purchased this in the description. And I'll leave my rambles about the Proxy towards the end. But first let's just open it. So thankfully, the seller that I bought this from, which was a Japanese Mercari seller, I'm not sure if they are told that their item is bought by a Proxy, so I don't know if they ship accordingly. Thankfully, this person had the foresight to, even though if they were thinking it was only going to be shipped within Japan, they put all the figures in a comfy little box, and it got here in great condition. Those were absolutely snug in there, but they all look like they're in great condition. And to get back to the question at hand, the reason I bought 4 is because this figure is a bit hard to find. It released sometime in late April to early May, I want to say, and it is a figure of the character Suzuki Iruma from Welcome to Demon School Iruma-Kun. I absolutely adore this series. I started reading the manga, I want to say last year, if not the year before, and then shortly after I learned there was an anime coming out. So I watched the anime, and I've been reading the manga ever since the end of the first season. The second season is currently airing, and I am enjoying myself greatly. But it's one of those series that I think is doing fairly well popularity-wise in Japan, but it doesn't have enough popularity to garner interest in like decent scale figures. I'm not holding my breath for an android or anything like that. This is the first scale figure that was announced and created. There's 2 more in the set. One of his friend, which is releasing sometime later this month, called Clara. And then of his other friend, Osmodius, I believe this is. These are created from a company called Eiko. I've never heard of them. All I know, based on the vague research that I did, I'm trying to figure out exactly what the quality would be. They primarily make prize figures and products. They had a whole list on this company's website of what stores to go in Japan to win this. But there was nothing I could see using Google Translate that said specifically how you win this prize. So I don't know why some of the boxes are damaged like this. The seller already said that, you know, it is a prize figure and the manner of which you win it might cause some damage, so buy at your own risk. I don't mind at all. I mean, I have 4 of them, so I'm not going to complain. And like I said, because the popularity isn't very strong, and I've never even heard of this company, I don't think they're very popular or well known. I could not find them, or this figure, in shops that I usually shop at. So AmiAmi didn't list him at all. Clara is about to be released, and AmiAmi doesn't have her on pre-order or anything, so that makes me think they're just not going to bother with it, this particular figure. So I took matters into my own hand. I went to Mercari to see if any people who won him were selling him. A lot of people were, but this was the only listing where I could justify the price of shipping. So yeah, now I have 4 Iruma-Kuns. I was going to just open this on my own so I could check the quality, but I figured I'd film it and do something a little historical since this is the first figure from the series being released. I mean, this series doesn't even have like trading figures or anything, little chibi ones. All the merchandise that I found has been plushies, keychains, clear files, things like that. So here we go. And if you're not familiar with the series, it is called Welcome to Demon School Iruma-Kun. It is about a 14-year-old boy, this character right here, that is essentially kidnapped, or I guess adopted, to be the grandson of a demon. And you'd think this would be a terrible, terrible thing, because his parents sold his soul to this demon. His parents are terrible, but the demon is actually really nice, and he actually enjoys being in the demon world. So the whole series is about him adapting to living in the demon world, making friends, things like that. The end goal, I think, is for him to become the Demon King, spoiler alert. But overall, this is a very fantasy comedy type series. The reason I love it so much is because it gives me so much nostalgia for late 90s to early 2000s anime. Just that type of comedy. Oh, there's a code in here. I'm not sure what that does, but that probably doesn't matter to me. It looks like you get something, some kind of signature. Oh, that'd be kind of cool. It looks like you might get the signature of the author. I'm not sure. But that came in the box. I'm assuming all the other boxes have that as well. So here is Iruma-Kun. He's actually a fairly good size. The only reason I even bothered is because I looked up what his scale was, and he's about a bit over 6 inches, which I think is a decent size considering he's a prize figure. To give a little bit more context to those who are not figure collectors, so prize figures generally are known as lower quality figures because their prizes are not that expensive. Because if they were, the company would probably make them a lot more rare to get their money's worth if someone does win it. If the character is very popular, it can bump up the price in the aftermarket, but overall, prize figures are meant to be a cheaper alternative to getting the more expensive scale figures. And generally, scale figures are just a lot better quality. They have more detail, hence why the more expensive price tag. I changed the colors of the camera. Hopefully that's a little better. His colors looked a lot muted. So here is his base. It's just a clear basic base. Honestly, I think this is the worst part of the figure. It just looks very gaudy and cheap. If it wasn't frosted, if it was just a clear plastic base, I wouldn't have that opinion, but the frosted look makes it look very cheap. Let's see if I can show y'all what it says. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it says probably the name of the series and the author, but it's in Japanese characters and then made in China. So here is one of the main reasons that I really liked the idea of getting this figure, and that's because he comes with his sensei, Kalego Sensei, but he's in his familiar form, and that's a spoiler, and it's super funny in the series, so I won't say why that's adorable. And there we go, not super complicated. He just has some pegs at the bottom of his feet, or holes I mean, to fit into the pegs, and he just stands on his own perfectly still. The colors just keep getting really off trying to review this, but there he is. A lot of people said that he looked like a bootleg, and I'm not gonna lie, he kind of does, but I think that's because of the style they chose to sculpt him as. The series itself has more simplistic artwork. It can get pretty detailed, but the actual anatomy of the artwork, I would say, is very 2D, cartoonish sometimes. And I think this figure captured that art style fairly well. I think if it was too detailed, it might look a little off. I do think the colors aren't as vibrant as they should be, or at least his hair. I think his hair should have been a little more vibrant to match the vibrancy of his outfit. Because right now, the contrast of the muted blue and this very bright aqua or sky blue looks a little off. But otherwise, he doesn't have too much detail on him, but the detail that he does have, I mean, it looks good. Nicely painted. Let's see if I can get a closer look. So on his back it says, I think the name of the company, right? Made in China, basically. But he feels hefty, honestly. He doesn't feel too much like a prize figure. He has some weight to him. And the fact that he's so big... Here, let me get Deku and compare. Hopefully this angle looks okay. So here is Deku next to Iruma Suzuki. And I think he looks pretty good, honestly. I was expecting him to be a lot smaller, a lot lighter, to feel more cheap, basically. And overall, I'm really impressed with the quality. He feels hefty. I mean, he comes with a base. I can probably customize that, which I probably am. Get some clay, customize it to where it looks a lot nicer. And he comes with Kalego Sensei, which is really cute. Next to Midoriya, they kind of look the same scale. If it wasn't for the base, Iruma would be a little shorter and his head would be smaller, but they don't look bad next to each other. So yeah, I'm really impressed. I mean, obviously the paint job is a lot simpler with Iruma, but that matches the actual series style, so I'm not, upset about it. I'm still not sure whether I want to get the rest of his friends. I really do want to have the complete set because they're just a hoot to have in the series. I did have to buy 4 of Iruma just to feel okay about buying one, but I don't want to have this giant collection of multiple figures. I'm hoping I can sell Iruma, and if not, I'll probably won't buy the rest of them unless I can find them for cheap or in a bundle with other stuff that I need. But overall, I think the quality is not bad for this company. I've never heard of them. I don't think a lot of stores really carry their products, but if you're someone who's thinking about buying one of their products, they're not bad. I don't think they're bad, especially if one Iruma was maybe 1,500 yen on Surugaya at some point. At most, I've seen him go for maybe 2,500 yen, which could be around $25, a bit lower, which is, I don't think that's bad. You're probably going to pay more in shipping. And there's my review of the first ever figure for this particular series, Marimashita Iruma-Kun, or in English it is called Welcome to Demon School Iruma-Kun. It's currently airing on Crunchyroll.com, so if you have a subscription, or even if you don't, I believe after the first week it airs, the new episode, it's free to watch with some advertisements. I highly recommend it, and they did dub it, and from what I remember, I didn't watch the dub completely. I did watch a few episodes just to see how the quality was, and I don't remember it being bad. It was still very funny. They did a very good job with the lines and translating some of the jokes. This is just a really fun series that I would recommend if you just want to have a good time, and it is age appropriate for, I think, majority of audiences, considering they're in like the demon worlds. There is like succubuses, but they don't go that fan servicey route. It was published in the same magazine as Beastars, which I found interesting. So the demographic for this series isn't really set in stone. I would say it's probably targeted towards younger teens because the magazine is called Shonen, which is usually the target audience is young teenage boys. But that magazine also has some older teen stuff. So I don't know. It's a comedy. If you enjoy the characters, enjoy the jokes, I think it'll be a very fun series for you to watch and get into. And the manga goes crazy. There's so many arcs that I hope get animated, and I'm going to be super sad if they don't. But that's enough of my rambling. So I did buy this using Buyee proxy services because it was a Mercari seller. The seller paid for shipping. In total for the 4 Irumas, it was about $40, which I think was really good, which means my Iruma only cost me about $10, not including shipping. So at the moment, if you've noticed, I did post a review and kind of a walkthrough tutorial on how to shop using Buyee at various different shops. I have to admit that video is about 2 to 3 months late. I started making it around January, and then I just kept putting it off because I had school and all kinds of other responsibilities. So some of the information may be outdated, but just from having to buy him, most of it does hold up. I think the only thing that I noticed is that I mentioned that Buyee does offer FedEx. However, they put it under a specific name. I think it was like Buyee International Shipping. And I was so confused when I saw that on the checkout. But that basically means, I think, that they choose the shipping option for you. And I'm assuming they go by the cheaper option, because when I chose it, I remember reading in their FAQs that FedEx falls under that name. So I assumed I was going to have this shipped via FedEx when I chose it. Instead, it was shipped DHL. DHL did a great job. Like I said, the day it was shipped and given to DHL by the Proxy, it made its way out of Japan and arrived in the United States. And then I had it maybe 2 days later. It was amazing. The only downside is that I have seen some other figure collectors recently say that DHL, even though you ask for them to have signature confirmation, like you have to sign for your package for them to release it, some of them have not been doing that. They'll just drop it off on your porch. So that's just something to look into and kind of alert yourself if you choose to ship via DHL. But otherwise, I thought they were really good. I think they charged me maybe $25 to $30 to ship this, and that was express because it did not take long at all to get to me. Again, he's a very obscure figure at the moment. No mainstream shops have been selling him. You kind of have to get him secondhand from people who've won him in whatever raffle you pay to get him. So overall, I'm really happy with the proxy services offered by Buyee. I still do recommend them, but again, read their rules. Make sure you calculate everything and take international as well as domestic shipping within Japan into account, and you will be happy with your purchase. I'm really happy with mine, but I love him. He's so cute. Look at his smile. So that's it for this figure review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video.